Let me be honest with you. You don't know how to rest. Each morning begins the same way. You're scrolling TikTok, then you're going to work, school, university. There are so many things happening in your life. Everybody wants something from you. Everybody wants you to pay attention. And you're hooked. You're watching, listening, thinking all day long. And then finally, you return home to chill, to relax. That's why you're listening to music, you're playing video games, scrolling TikTok again. Why am I still so tired? Why am I exhausted? Of course you're exhausted, my friend. Of course you are. Because you don't know how to rest. And look, I understand that we live in the 21st century. The world is flooded with information and our brain is not capable of capturing and digesting all of it. And I didn't even mention all many problems you have in your life, which keep draining your mental and emotional energy. You need a recharge. Yes, like a phone. You're charging your phone, so you need to recharge your mental energy. No, actually, that's quite the opposite. You need to empty it. You need to empty your brains in order to rest. So speaking about the solution, it would be 20-30 minutes per day in a total silence. It means that whenever you come home from the work, you turn off all the notifications on your phone, the other devices, you close the curtains, the windows, so there is no external noise from the street, people chattering, cars, etc. And even natural light, you don't need it. What we're trying to accomplish is to limit ourselves only to our head and thoughts. So there is nothing penetrating our head, our brain from the outside. When it doesn't happen, our thoughts and all that unnecessary clutter in our head begins to vanish. Little by little, your body is calming down and you're clearing the mental space for other things which actually matter in your life. That's why it is easy to get focused, to get concentrated after the meditation, because you're not emotional, you're not impulsive, and you have this mental clarity and energy to do the things, to do the actual stuff. Even though everyone understands the importance of mental recovery, no one is actually doing it. Why? First of all, because of inefficiency. What do I mean by inefficiency is there are other things to take care of, which look much more important than simply doing nothing. However, I would argue that mental recovery is as important as the actual work, because the deprivation of it leads to the decreased performance and efficiency, which is not really good. The second reason is simply because of boredom. We live in the century of technological revolutions. There are all the fancy things happening in our lives. It is easy to get your dopamine simply from scrolling the TikTok, playing video games, etc. And of course, we would prefer to simply numb our fatigue than to deal with the actual problems. Because meditating alone, only with your thoughts, it is dealing with your actual problems. And scrolling the Instagram feed to see these tits, fancy cars, some stupid memes, to simply get distracted and forget for a second, for a moment, about your stupid life, about your stupid problems with which you deal from day to day. However, there is even a better solution, and it would be to spend more time outside. Yeah, there is something appeasing about birds chirping, the sound of a cracking tree, and simply all these colors, like green, brown, and there are no people, no distractions, no phone, just me and the forest. Even our grandparents used to spend more time outside. No, not because there were not big cities or no distractions, but simply because we belong to the nature. And you too should spend more time outside.